in Fort Lauderdale, about a 40-minute drive. There we went into the garage because the media maelstrom was beginning. There were probably 300 reporters there when I arrived. That crowd just grew. There was also a throng of supporters and a throng of protesters. And then I was put into a holding cell. Oh, pardon me. That's not true. I was then shackled, hand and foot, heavy metal shackles, and was taken to a holding cell with a group of other Americans, and all of whom were there for some drug-related charges. Every one of them, by the way, supported the president's new policy regarding sentencing guidelines. And then after waiting there for a while, they let me see my attorneys. My attorneys told me that the government had agreed to bond of $250,000. But then that I would be brought before a judge. I went before the judge, still shackled, room full of press. It was very brief. The government and my lawyers both agreed to allow me bond. Right now, my travel restrictions are Washington, D.C., New York City, and South Florida. If I want to come to Austin, which I do, I have to get permission, but my attorneys think that. So I am restricted in where I can go. I am ordered to take substance abuse testing, which they tell me is standard. That's about it. At this moment, there is no press gag on me, but I will be brought before a magistrate. The thing here is why are they treating me like the OG? They're treating me like Pablo Escobar, when all they had to do was ask my attorney, and I would have I would have surrendered voluntarily. I would have come properly dressed. Instead, I didn't shave. I didn't even get a chance to put a brush through my hair or brush my teeth.
Well, Roger, I got to say, you look great in the T-shirt. Now, let's stop right there, because they don't want you to be able to speak. And I know what you were planning to say at the press conference after you talked about your innocence and the war on the press and how this is a war on the president, which you've accurately predicted. Dershowitz agrees with you. So let's move on to what comes next now, because they don't want you to have speech. They even had the press shouting you down, not just hecklers, over 1,000 people, more showing up. So for people that don't know what's happening, tell them what's coming next. You've been very, very accurate, and the war on the press, the things we talked about off air that you were going to say at the press conference that they stopped you from saying.
Well, what was most disconcerting about the press scrum is that some of the people were, of course, just loudmouth left-wing demonstrators, but some of the alternative left-wing media type were, shouting out, did you collude with the Russians? Are you a Russian? Do you work with the Russians? I mean, it was really ridiculous, because anyone who's read this indictment knows that's not the case. So,
and anyone that knows I mean, this is a world exclusive, bigger than OJ, literally 3 or 4 times the number. This is the biggest press conference hysteria I've ever seen, literally. And they won't shut up screaming, are you a Russian? Are you a Russian? Are you a Russian? Where you can't even give a damn statement like everybody does and then takes questions. They ran you off rather than get questions in. This only went like 6 minutes. This was insane.
That's because I wanted, in all honesty, to tell the full story here at InfoWars, and it was just untenable. They wouldn't shut up long enough for me to take questions. I was barely able to make a statement, and here's what I said. After 2 years of intense scrutiny, this is what the government comes up with. No Russian collusion, no WikiLeaks collaboration, no illegal act regarding the 2016 election. All process crimes, fabricated, manufactured process crimes. I'm accused of being less than truthful in my testimony before the House Intelligence Committee. That's just false. To the extent that I've made errors, they're inconsequential. They're not material to anything. They don't hide anything. They would be honest errors of memory. And in one case, they're absolutely right. I did forget text messages that were entirely exculpatory and proved that everything I had told them was true. So, Adam Schiff and Eric Swallowswell and their allies put ungodly pressure on Robert Mueller to bring this indictment, and they did. These are trumped up, phony charges. I haven't intimidated any witnesses. I haven't obstructed justice. I did not work with the Russians, and this has nothing to do with Donald Trump, other than the fact that you asked me what the next step is. The next step, I think, is pretty clear. This is where they promised to go light on me if I'll just help them nail Donald Trump. That's the next step, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I hate to raise this, but they're encamped at your house, digging over everything, hoping to find a crooked toenail or something, nothing related to Russia. I said last night, I said, I hope they don't put you under the jail like Manafort. So looking into the eyes of history, looking into real destiny here, Roger, what do you expect them to do next week when you're arraigned in D.C.?
Well, I'll have a statement then, because I believe when you are falsely accused, it's vitally important that you respond. And I know InfoWars will be there to cover it, so I know that people will hear what I actually have to say. I'll be available for the War Room today, although we have our veteran show, so people can get a blow-by-blow of what happened. And
yeah, we have Friday veterans call-ins. I think they'll understand it's preempted today. Yeah, so we're going to preempt that. Roger, I can tell people are talking to you and telling you to go, but this is a world exclusive. They've tried to silence you. I want you to just hold on for 5 more minutes on the side and then pop it on the War Room today. I know you're very exhausted, been up since 5 a.m. when they SWAT team raided you. But just now and going to break, what does the president need to do? I mean, this is beyond McCarthyism now. None of this is Russiagate. It's run by a guy who gives uranium to Russians on tarmacs. His name ought to be Vlad Mueller. I mean, what the hell's going on here? And they grabbed the phone away again.
No, I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay. There's so much call waiting. Roger, don't hang up. You got to go to break.
I didn't. I moved to a different room so I could get more quiet.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. We're going to go to break, my friend. I'll talk to you during the break. Don't hang up. Come back. One more segment, global exclusive. Think of all the things we talk about off air. You're so interesting off air, on air too. All the things you want to say, because they don't. Especially next week you go in, they might throw you into the jail. So what is right and turn us into tyrannies? And I began to fight it 25 years ago. All over the world now, nationalists and patriots are getting elected. And everywhere they're being elected, they turn the tide of tyranny. But then the deep state tries to indict them. Roger Stone was the chief advisor to Trump. He got him to run exploratory in 2000, again in 2014 or so for 2016. He's been targeted for 2.5 years with this BS. So have I. We've laughed about it a lot until it got down to the wire that trying to talk to WikiLeaks is criminal and Russian collusion when they're not even Russian. And all the rest of the media could talk to them, including the Washington Post, the New York Times, CNN. And now CNN's camped outside his house, gets the tip. They're there, 29 SWAT team raid. And then Roger gets out, goes and gives a press conference after he talks to us exclusively. And there's so many reporters screaming, you're a Russian, you can't hear anything. Because obviously they all got there to shout him down so that he wouldn't get a statement. Well, you're going to get his statement here right now, what he thinks the president should do, where this country's going. Dershowitz is now saying the sky's blue and warning the president that he is the target. This is made up. Appoint a special prosecutor. You've got the president's ear right now more than ever, Roger, in your 44 years of friendship. The White House is watching right now, Roger. Specifically, what's happening big picture? What does the president need to do? What does America need to do to understand the real threat we face? The deep state's taking down the First Amendment and everything right now.
Well, I think they demonstrated today that they treat the president's advisors, they treat the president's friends like gangsters. I did not expect to wake up and be looking down the barrel of 2 guns this morning at 5:55 this morning. They are clearly desperate to take down Donald Trump. I expect that they will try to put my head in a vice to get me to bear false witness against him. I'm not going to do that, as I've made very clear. He needs to appoint a special counsel to examine the FISA warrants. He needs to declassify them immediately. That I think brings the whole globalist Obama, Clinton house of cards down. It is the single most important thing that he can do, and then it will give a special counsel of his appointment, of the new Attorney General's appointment, or even the acting Attorney General's appointment, a roadmap. And that roadmap needs to be followed. There's no doubt in my mind that this isn't about Roger Stone, other than the fact that this indictment is so thin, so incorrect, has so many distortions in it. My lawyers are aghast. First of all, they're aghast that they weren't called, that CNN knew of my arrest before they did, which is unheard of. Unheard of. They actually put out a press release prior to my lawyers being notified so they could have a media circus, and then treating me like the OG. I'm not the OG. But if they're going to treat me like one, I might as well act like one. I mean, it's absurd. This is, first they try to break you financially, so hoping that I would plead guilty to these charges. I've lost my life and health insurance in December. I had to sell my car. I had to liquidate a small fund I had put aside for my book sales for the college education of my children. I have no stocks, no bonds, no real estate. Thank God for InfoWars, because you guys have kept me alive. I have a couple other very small gigs, but not much. Facebook and their war of censorship against InfoWars and against me has really hurt my book sales. So the idea is to put you under such intense, financial pressure, you're forced to plead guilty to something you didn't do, and then in turn to turn on the president Michael Cohen style.
And let's be clear. Let's be clear. You make that statement, but they're making their move now. They're going to move on the president. Dershowitz is smart. He's admitted it. But let's just talk about this. They need us to be the demons. They need somebody to say, okay, we're Russians, when there's no proof. And again, nothing here. So that's why if people support InfoWarsStore.com, if they support, because I support you, if they support StoneDefenseFund.com, this is the revolution. This is 1776 Part 2. This is standing against the whole system. So yes, everyone should send a strong message at StoneDefenseFund.com and go make donations there right now. And everyone should go to InfoWarsStore.com and get your books and get your T-shirt, because part of that proceeds goes to you. Because as you know, Roger, we're next in the hopper. We told everybody they were going to try to frame my dad for hush money because Corsi signed a contract where he'd get paid out unless it was for cause. So to be nice, we paid out the last 6 months of his contract that just so happens to end in January. That's when it was signed 2 years ago, so it's renewed every year. And I've got my phone ringing off the hook like, are you going to jail next for your hush money? So now paying your reporters is hush money. I mean, these people are going for broke, but put them on the defense. They're in Uranium One, hundreds of millions from the Russians, Mueller at Tarmax, uranium, the foundations, the kidnapped kids in Haiti. I mean, it just, Trump doesn't ever go on the offense. And it's insane as they creep up towards him. Your emergency message to the president. Again, what are you saying to the president right now?
Appoint a special counsel immediately to investigate Uranium One and the crimes of the Clintons and the Obamas. Secondarily, declassify all of the documents. Who else was subject to an illegal, unconstitutional FISA warrant besides Carter Page? Because I believe that I was subject to one. Get to the bottom of who has been surveilled. Alex, there's no doubt that they've come for me, and I really believe they are coming for you based on this pumped-up nonsense coming from Jerry Corsi and the...
Well, let's be clear. I mean, Michael Caputo and others a year and a half ago, or a year ago, got asked about Alex Jones. We never made that up. You think I want to be in this crosshairs of this? It just shows how asinine it is. Now I'm the Russian agent. And if they find something to indict me for made up, it won't be Russia again, because everyone knows I bleed red, white, and blue.
It's an absurdity. Look, I'm a guy who had family members mowed down by Russian tanks in Budapest in 1956. I hate the Russians and their system. I'm a patriotic American, so accusing me of collusion with the Russians is about the greatest single insult you could have.
You're married to the daughter of a famous, Cuban capitalist and fighter, and you helped round up a bunch of Russians in the 80s for Reagan. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Exactly, which is why I intend to fight. I will fight these charges. This is what they wouldn't let me say today. I am innocent. These charges are bogus. They're fabricated. None of them relate to Russian collusion. None of them relate to any collaboration with the WikiLeaks. The idea that you or I or anyone we know got documents from WikiLeaks and gave them to the Trump campaign is categorically false. This is a political indictment as part of a political witch hunt. And I will not bend. I will not falter. I will not fold, and I'm not going to testify against Trump. But I think
Roger, I know you've got
begins.
I know you got 5 lawyers and literally 50 chase cars chasing you wherever you went to. We need you on the War Room today. The whole world wants to distort what you said. They tried to boo you. They tried to block you from having speech. You have it here for now. Thanks to listeners supporting us and building this platform to fight now in America's darkest hour. So promise me that you'll pop in at the start of the War Room, 3 o'clock Central, 4 o'clock Eastern today, okay?
Probably be 5 o'clock, my normal slot.
Okay, perfect. Let me talk to you during the break, though. Stay there.
Know someone?
We've spent 2 years and had to pay top formulators and scientists from the top labs in the country to make what they believed was the best energy drink. Compromised once on DACA, which he did a year ago and they said no to. And now he's saying even more compromise and they're refusing. But they're claiming they've come to a short interim, temporary government shutdown restart. That's coming up. We've got one of his lawyers, Tyler Nixon, very smart guy, popping in here in a moment. We've also got some of the reporters that were there today covering this. But Roger, they fought hard at your press conference to block you out and scream you're a Russian agent, including a lot of the press, the so-called media, who are now murderers of the truth. So this is your chance to encapsulate it all in like 3-4 minutes. And I'm going to run this every day for the next 2 weeks so people know the truth. Because next week, like Paul Manafort, you could disappear into a spider hole, which I hope doesn't happen because I'm next. We're all in this together, brother. So here's your chance to the president, the world, everybody. While InfoWars is still standing, bleeding, but in the fight, thanks to the prayers of our supporters, here's your chance to communicate your statement about the war on the press, the war on your family. There's no Russia collusion in this. It's so insane. You're trying to put you in prison for decades for being a journalist. The indictment is insane. What does it all signify, Roger Stone?
Well, Alex, America is under attack. InfoWars is under attack. I am under personal attack. In order to weaken me, they spread lies about the settlement of a lawsuit weeks ago, pushing the headline, Roger Stone admits pushing lies on InfoWars, which is not what I said. In fact, I'll be very clear. I've never reported anything at InfoWars or any other platform that I didn't believe to be true at the time I reported it. But that was an effort to shape my credibility with the public as a setup for what happened today. They want to treat me like a gangster. They think I'm the OG. When they could have just called my lawyers and I would have voluntarily surrendered wearing a suit and tie. Instead, they kick in the door of my house at 5 o'clock in the morning, 5:50, guns drawn. They handcuff me like I'm a drug dealer. They prop up completely fabricated non-Russian collusion, no WikiLeaks collaboration, no evidence of any crime that pertains to the election of Donald Trump in the 2016 election. Allegations pushed by Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell that I was less than truthful in my House Intelligence Committee testimony, which I was not. To the extent that I made any errors, it would be honest errors of memory, and it would be irrelevant. I mean, inconsequential, immaterial, as the law would require for a perjury charge. What they did to me today was an effort to intimidate me, to humiliate me, putting me in shackles in the federal courthouse, parading me in front of a courtroom full of reporters. But I won't bend. I won't break. I won't fade. I won't quit. I'm not going to testify against Donald Trump and make up lies that they suggest to ease the pressure on myself. I will fight these charges. I have excellent lawyers. I have my deep belief in God. I have the strong support of not only my family, but the InfoWars family. I do need people to go to StoneDefenseFund.com. My lawyers project that my defense could cost as much as $2 million. Right now, I'm struggling to pay the rent, to pay my taxes. I had to sell my car. I lost my health and life insurance. It is part of their plan to squeeze you financially, to make you plead guilty to something you didn't do, and to try to leverage you to testify against our great president. I'm just not going to do that.
It's called siege. So America's fighting for its life, and all these so-called fake journalists cheerleading, shutting down your speech at the press conference. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're not journalists. They're killers of the truth now. That's their new job, and America is falling to real tyranny if the president doesn't take action, appoint the special counsel on Uranium One, and so much more. StoneDefenseFund.com, StoneColdTruth.com. Everybody buy a T-shirt, buy a Stone Rock, whatever. I know what this war is like. It takes money to fight this, and I've been particularly targeted for backing Stone because I know he's the real deal. But I'm honored to be here with you and other Americans to make this country great again. And Roger, I really, really appreciate you. And obviously you'll be on the War Room today with another global exclusive in the second hour. It's got to really anger the mainstream corporate media that they tried to shut you down and boo you out at that press conference. But I was told earlier, 50,000 people a second. So when that zeitgeist gets hit, we're hitting the live feeds and crashed our servers, but we're back up. It's only 5,000 new people a second hitting right now. So you've got millions of new listeners wanting to hear, well, this is evil devil, this horrible Russian. Let's hear what he's done. And there's nothing there, Roger.
God bless you, Alex, and God bless everyone at InfoWars.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Roger. All right, so again, we've had Roger on today for basically an hour live. He had a 6-minute press conference that they bullied and shut down in front of everyone. And I talked to him. I said, go back. Was it reporters? He goes, yeah, they were all shouting, you're a Russian or you're a Russian. There's no Russian stuff in the indictment. It's all crap. So imagine, in America, you've got, and I'm not just saying this, Tiger Woods, O.J. Simpson, Bill Clinton press conferences. I've never seen, the police say there were 2,000 people there by the end. There were over 1,000 reporters. We were getting 50,000 unique IP addresses a second. And we've got some of the biggest server companies in the world. Our regular bandwidth, bills are $500,000 a month. Today's going to be $500,000. I mean, this is insane. We have tens of millions tuned in just on the streams, not on radio stations right now. Normally, it's not even 1 million tuned in at one time. So this is all going on. This is insane. And imagine the imagery. He comes out and they won't let him talk. Well, you just heard him speak and none of them are picking up what he said. Because that's the thing. They don't want you to actually hear what happened. Tyler Nixon is a great guy, one of the chief lawyers for Stone. I asked him this morning when I first got a first statement from his lawyer there at the jail. His first thing was, how's my wife? Okay, she's okay. Here's my directives and information from my lawyers, and get Tyler Nixon on and Alex Jones. Let him know, this information. So we put a statement out that's on Infowars.com. That was the first statement. I had ABC, CBS, NBC, Washington Post calling. Is that really Roger? I mean, how do we even know you? Oh, he only works here. That's how they operate. Like everything we do is fake when they're the fake ones. And I'm battling for InfoWars' very life. So Tyler Nixon joins us, one of Roger's, he's actually a spokesperson. He wanted on. We're going to break in a minute to come back to this. But just the indictment of Roger, no Russiagate, a press conference, the press shuts it down booing. This is beyond the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union, they would listen to what somebody said. I mean, this is insane.
Yeah, Alex, this is a dark day in America as far as I'm concerned for any patriot or anyone who believes in a constitutional republic and who believes in the rule of law, believes in liberty and justice above all. This type of the tactics deployed on Roger Stone, who would be just the first, I'm sure, if these people have their way, would make Lavrenti Beria and Stalin and Himmler and the rest of them, embarrassed or proud, let's just say, proud as far as, if
well, they'd be envious. I mean,
they would be envious. Yeah. They would absolutely love to have this type of power. It's a disgrace. It's a disgusting, appalling abuse. It's been it's been systematized and based on literally Roger Stone's voluntary cooperation with the House Intelligence Committee, which clearly is run by partisan mercenaries. This was not a legitimate inquisition or a legitimate inquiry, excuse me. It was an inquisition. And at most what they've done is cooked up misstatements and, insufficient information and turned it into crimes. Still no Russian collusion. The only Russians, if you want to talk about Russian collusion, we have the Soviets running our Department of Justice as far as I'm concerned.
I can't tell you how many federal marshals, FBI people, other retired current are just like, we're so ashamed right now. We can't believe this. I mean, Roger has no criminal record. He said he turned himself in. They SWAT team and point guns at his head, threaten his family. It's just, my God. And then Mueller's on the tarmac with, I don't want the full Monty in hell with you guys. So Mueller and all you guys, Hillary, you can choose Hades. I want to go with Jesus Christ. That's where I stand now. I want to be very clear with listeners and viewers here. This is the most epic thing we've ever been involved in because it's bigger than Roger Stone. It's bigger than President Trump. It's bigger than all of us. It's about the lies by Hillary and the globalists to overturn an election, to remove the president and the vice president, and to tell us that being Americana and pro-free market and capitalist is Russian with no proof. And 2.5 years into this, almost 2 years into Mueller, nothing but them perjuring themselves to Congress, nothing but them wearing wires, nothing but them lying about investigations, nothing but them caught red-handed. But almost all of D.C. sits back pissing itself while they send in Mueller's people trying to set us up over and over again. And I haven't released the big setup stuff yet. And I mean, I'm getting close to that. But it doesn't even really matter anymore. Because there are people that are either for the country or against it. If you don't know that every Democrat group says America sucks and needs to go away, and it was never great and it'll never be great, and they have chance that we're not cherry picking. You think I go to some women's march in Austin funded by Soros or L.A. or D.C., I've been to all of them, or I see my reporters' footage. You think I feel good when I go, oh, great, the main march was America's going down? You think I go, oh, good, I can expose the leftists? No, I literally walk in to my bedroom and sometimes just lean up against the wall because I've got strength, but sometimes I start to falter when I think about my kids and the people are this evil. And I start to cry. I'm not going to lie to people. And it's not that I'm crying out of weakness. It's that I just can't believe that we have people openly saying they hate America, funded by Chi-Coms that have killed 5 times what Hitler did. And then all we're trying to do is stabilize the country and defend our people. And then we're attacked by a bunch of scum that's involved with the Russians and the Chinese and everybody else. And it doesn't scare me for myself. I'm not scared of Mueller. I'm scared that I'm not strong enough and I didn't do a good enough job to make sure that a goddamn pedophile army of devil worshipers, and I don't mean that in the Lord's name in vain, I mean they're damned to hell, didn't get control of our country. And that more people don't realize how serious this is and how they're planting false flags and how they're doing all this and how they're trying to destroy the very essence of a nation existing. I was there when we were trying to get a hold of WikiLeaks and they wouldn't talk to us. I was there. I saw it all. I was there when I hired reporters to set up bureaus like we do and have that turned into hush money by a bunch of damn criminals. So going back to Mr. Nixon, Tyler Nixon, one of the spokesperson lawyer for Roger Stone, you know, he's told me a lot to say once he got indicted or if he got grabbed or disappeared. He could disappear next week into this rat hole. But I just don't think we can count the cost enough here, how real this is. This is a 21st century threat. You couldn't take down America if you were the Nazis or the Chi-Coms or the Soviet Russians, but you could take it down spiritually and culturally. And they thought it was their time. They thought Hillary was coming in. They thought this would be their event. Trump got in as a kind of a speed bump or a wall. They're trying to overrun that right now. And we can bitch about the president being surrounded by cowards all day, but what do you think Roger needs to do? What does the audience need to do? What does the president need to do right now? Because clearly this is an attempt to take the country down. The jurisprudence is under attack. The right of the press is under attack. Everything is fundamentally being overthrown right now.
Brother, I feel your pain. And, you know, Alex, you got big shoulders. You've been fighting this fight for decades, as have been I in my own way. And let me tell you something. I went to Mr. Jefferson's University, the University of Virginia Law School. That's also where Robert Mueller went, also where Robert Kennedy went. If Jefferson were alive today, he would be standing next to Roger Stone, not next to Robert Mueller. These people, the evil in them never rests. They are persistent, ruthless, vicious mercenaries, partisan hacks who have taken control of our government, the abuse of power. I have not seen such a railroading for political activity in my life as they have done to Roger Stone.
And this endangers everyone. And they're doing it to everybody. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, and they're setting the stage. They are asserting their power, the way they operate, sending in an armed hit squad to a man who is a most peaceable man I know, unless attacked, of course. And
by the way, he signaled many times, "Don't SWAT team me. I'm ready to turn myself in."
Yeah, absolutely. Why was that necessary? Was it really necessary to ransack his house or whatever they did? And fortunately, I will say I dealt with them. The FBI agents are courteous. They're doing their job.
But they're following orders of a rogue criminal cartel.
They are. And, where is the president? Okay, the president has, in my opinion, tweeting, I have to agree with Roger, is not getting it anymore. He needs to. It's unfortunate. He's let it, I think, go too far at this point. It's going to have to go to its natural conclusion. Roger has been framed. I mean, this is, it's funny because in September of 17.
Tyler, you know my dad. They're literally calling up like, "Oh, Jones, you're not afraid. We'll put your dad in prison." My dad.
Yeah. Oh, no, nobody is off limits. They will take everything that you have.
Take him. He's ready. My dad's ready. Just take him.
Yeah, your dad's a patriot.
Take them all. Let's go.
I enjoyed sitting with him and chatting. He was an oral surgeon, I believe. My father, same thing, dentist, lifelong. What we're up against, people need to realize this isn't left versus right. This isn't Democrat versus Republican. This is fascist versus freedom fighters. And
exactly. And I've gotten to the point where I literally have to be ready to cut myself loose and everything else and my dad loose. And people understand that's where we are, because the alternative is so much more evil. I don't want to be up here standing like this at the parapet, but I know we're facing real evil. I have to. There's not even a question.
Yep. I served in the Berlin Brigade, and I was proud to do so right after the wall came down. And I saw firsthand what Soviet communism and its satellite states and the oppression of socialism looked like. 40 years after the war, there were still bullet-scarred buildings. You would drive through these streets of Potsdam or say, any of these marginal cities outside of West Berlin, and it was a nightmare. It was dark. People didn't even come out of doors. There was no brightness, no life to it. This is what these people sit in, the luxury and the wealth and the opulence of Western capitalism and Western Enlightenment values, and throw stones at it. Excuse the pun. Roger has been throwing stones at them right back for years, as have you. And I'm almost speechless to put my finger. It really can be disconcerting, and I understand how you kind of have to catch yourself sometimes, because those of us who have seen this coming and have tried to warn our fellow citizens and say, look, this isn't a game. This isn't political gamesmanship here. We are talking about ruthless people who
when I tell listeners that they're trying to indict me, okay, it's going on. I mean, this is not stunts here. We're not doing this to play patty cake.
Let me tell you something. These Sandy Hook lawsuits, that's just a tactic to basically dig into your personal finances, the finances of Infor, anything that they can run.
Because they got all the other bank accounts shut down. They want to figure out how to totally shut us down. They admit it.
And that's what it is. It's a literal police state.
Well, see, I don't want to be the guy crying, "Oh my God, they've got me." I just want listeners to know that one problem is we're too confident on one end, but if I wanted to really go up and shoot the bat signal out, we need to be flooded with money. And I know for a fact less than 1% of people buy products on a regular basis. If just a few percentage, we would have everything we needed to defeat these people. But it's how God works. We always just get enough. But if I didn't have to spend time, and I'm not bitching, going around, people say, why don't you just throw Roger overboard? Or why don't you, because he didn't do the things they said, because I like Roger. He's a funny, smart guy. He takes on this label because they called him as the bad guy. It's not true. He's always telling me, let's not say that. It's not completely true. Even though I'm not lying, he thinks it's too far. He knows truth's the power. Have you ever heard Roger tell a lie?
No, and that's what I asked a reporter who I was sparring with practically, should you have to spar with these people because they're handing you the party line, their party line. And I said, can you just tell me one documented, proven lie that Roger Stone has told publicly or elsewhere? And he sat and he didn't respond. He moved on to the next question. I've asked other people that. No, they can't.
Because he knows truth is the power. I mean, me too. Stay right there. We're going to come back. We got another guest popping in. Roger will probably be popping in at the end of the hour. There's big developments coming. There's going to be one place you can come to and hear what's happening, because he's their big move on the president. Just like Dershowitz and others have said. Obviously, they keep lying to him, saying, kick their ass and be strong. That's the thing is, they don't intimidate me. They make me angry that we have such a cancer of scum who hate the country and who are selling it out and who say America was never great and will never be great. And then they turn around and they have nothing 2+ years later on what we've done. And then I'll say it. The president sits there with Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who I try to defend. But when she shows at the end of the day she's being a politician, this has nothing to do with the president. It has everything to do with the president. Yeah, there's no Russiagate. Yeah, there's nothing there. Exactly. So you sit there on your ass when you and your daddy need to get up off your fat asses and mobilize the troops to stand up for what's right. Then we beat this. They'll get you next, lady. Tyler Nixon, lawyer, spokesperson for Stone. What do you say about that?
I'm really disappointed that there's not more. I mean, there's a circle within the Trump, well, within the White House, within the larger emanating, I guess, out of the White House and the campaign of people who do not have any concern or care or interest in Roger Stone because they know that he's brilliant. They know that his legacy and his heritage or his, his.
They know that InfoWars and Stone and all of us, the listeners, got him elected, and they're all hacks that just attack. We don't want to go attach ourselves to D.C. Stone didn't ask for a job in D.C. Exactly. So they see us as competition. Instead, they ought to be listening to us. And I know the president and a few others do listen. But you're right. They're very angry that we're the real brain trust, and they're not. Exactly, dumbasses. We didn't come from where you are. We built our own thing. We called the country, jackasses.
It's testify, my brother. Let me tell you something. These people, it is time for the Quislings and for the I mean, I think we've rid ourselves very much so of the neocons, thankfully, but there's still this element of Washington insider.
That's right. We got a chainsaw going on outside your house. We'll come back with the leaf blowers off. Exactly. Nationalism's exploding. Capitalism's exploding. People realize the threat of radical Islam. And America is awake. The young people are awake. The neocons have been shoved out. And this is their whole counteroffensive. And it'll crush those of us that are seen as leaders. But even if they destroy us, let's not take that as a defeat. Because, folks, we're winning the wider war, aren't we, Tyler?
Yeah. Sorry, I got deep state landscaping working right outside.
I know how it works, brother. I used to be out of my house doing shows, like all of a sudden the leaf blower.
Is someone I have the utmost respect for, as I do you, Alex. You guys are the stalwarts who have held this, the glue that has held this movement together and keeps people going, frankly, who have despaired in the face of the Clintonian Obama cabal that has co-opted our government, abused our justice system, corrupted every process of government they can, while they install their deep state puppets and minions in there to basically spend tens of millions of taxpayer dollars that people worked hard for to pursue this laughable Kafka-esque inquisition against Stone, you and others. I mean, it boggles the mind, and it's like, where they talk about, like, where are the adults in the room? Where are the righteous people? I mean, they've literally, I think the years of Clinton, Bush, and Obama drained the swamp, literally, well, not drained the swamp, but it rid Washington, D.C. of anybody with any integrity left. I mean, my God, you have Rand Paul, folks like that, but they're outliers anymore. Lindsey Graham and these folks need to realize they're not. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to soothsay Trump into whatever his fate may be at the hands of the deep state, but it's.
Let me say what it is. We're going to come back and finish up with you and go to our next guest. You made great points. Please join us in the war room. I'll be staying up here until late tonight. But Tyler Nixon, there's still that weird political detente, that senatorial stuff. But the globalists are ignoring that. So they go say, hey, we're suing for peace. Let's make a compromise. But every time they turn against it. And the old senators with all their money and their mistresses. Tyler Nixon, the spokesperson for Roger Stone, has already been on with us for over an hour today. He'll be joining us again, coming up in the war room in about an hour, live linked, drudgereport.com. He tried to come out, tried to give a speech, tried to talk, tried to take questions. They just screamed, you're a Russian. Yes, we're the ones that want more jobs in America and defend our border and bigger defense budgets and space-based defense systems. Oh, that's the Russians. The Russians are crapping their pants. The whole world government order doesn't know what to do. You can even disagree with some of what Trump does, but you can't disagree that he's making America strong and great again. So they are trying to stop him. Tyler Nixon, final comments on that.
Say something. If this guy literally started this up right after the break ended.
That's why I did the buzzsaw. It's awesome. That's why we got buzzsaw coming in here.
Yeah, let me tell you something. Robert Mueller, Herr Mueller of the Geheimstaatspolizei, American style, has, in my opinion, just validated Roger Stone, validated InfoWars, validated everything you've been saying all along. They are exactly what we've said they're about all along, which is about power, control, and the ruthless mercenary use of our government what was once our government, I should say, to carry out the political, personal objectives of ruthless criminals like the Clintons, the Obama ilk. And, you know, I'm sure they're celebrating and they're dancing their little jig in the comment sections of the screeching, squealing, degenerate left. I mean, if you read through some of these comments of these people, they're living on another planet. They've literally constructed these fantasies in their mind. And, you know, what I like about you, Alex, and about Roger and InfoWars, you are straightforward, you're down to earth, you're real people, you're genuine. We need everybody in this cause now needs the support of everyone out there. If you didn't think Roger Stone was being serious about how they're coming for him and they're going to come for the president next, they're coming for Alex, anybody they can eliminate in this purge, this liquidation of
That's right. This is game
enemies.
time. This is the takedown of the country. Now they say, I'm the next target, my dad. I mean, this is just insanity, but they don't care because they're a lawless group of criminals changing the subject from them with uranium 1 and Hillary with the uranium and the 100+ million. We must have a special counsel. But what about this new attorney general who is literally Robert Mueller's daddy for George Herbert Walker and the CIA that brought him in? It just shows how Trump's being lied to on all sides.
This is where I question the president's choice in terms of who he's having counsel him. Listen, William Barr is praised by Joe DeGeneva. Now, Joe DeGeneva is clearly a very, very pro-Trump, anti-Mueller, anti-cabal individual. But, you know, it's about being aggressive. I guess we need to restore.
Well, let's stop there. I'm always about suing for peace if we're on the winning side for everything. So if they want to go into abstention, and Mueller and others that were minions of the Clintons want to stop being criminals and want to back off, that's one thing. But no, this is clear. They're going ahead with the fraud. We don't want a civil war. Most analysts say they're going to start one. This is so dangerous.
They really are, you know, and it's going to come down to that because our government is no longer our own. And when I say our, I mean the people, the citizenry as being, I mean, when you see a private citizen, and you notice that no one that Mueller and his team go after actually is in government, are they? It's all private citizens. That's very interesting, I find. Not that I'm saying that they should be going after anybody necessarily, but it's just curious that it's always the low-hang, the easy targets.
It's incredible. It's transparent. It's out of control. Thank you. We'll talk to you again in the War Room coming up today with Roger Stone, Infowars.com/show, live feeds. Thank you so much. All right, Jacob Ingalls, we're going to come to you. He's a publisher of Central Florida Post, good friends with Roger. Just in town a few months ago with Roger and I went out to dinner. I've known him for a few years with New Dawn Magazine. He's committed to truth journalism on a local level. So we're going to be talking to him, another good friend of Roger's. He was down there today to get his take on this whole hysterical situation on the other side. Listen, I've gotten so busy the last month focusing just on news that we've lost $1 million. And that means $1 million we need to fund things. BuzzFeed has $300 million a day. Let me just tell you, straight from BuzzFeed. They get $300 million a year. Globalist Foundation funding and sponsorship, and they lose $100 million. Now, that's $100 million where it's all money. If I sell $1 million worth of product, on average, we make $500,000. Then we pay for the bandwidth, the crew, the licensing, everything else. And it's not about how much money I get, as you see, but maybe I get out of $1 million, maybe $50,000. Then I pay for lawyers, all the rest of the BS taxes, and basically make nothing. It's not about the money. It's about fuel for war. It's about ammo. I'm on the front line ready to go to the end. God, I want to go to the end. But I need funding. And I don't do a good enough job to explain, hey, we're the zeitgeist. We're the tip of the spear, baby. BuzzFeed, which employs 1,300 people, generated more than $300 million in revenue in 2018. But still, they got to get $100 million. Document cam shot, please. $100 million infused by Soros and others. Zoom in on that. $300 million. So see, they got folks to illegally give the New York Times stuff for my divorce 5 years ago, and it said Jones makes $24 million a year. No, that was our gross. I made about $2 million that year and paid for it all with lawyers, and you know, after taxes. But the point is that it sounds like a lot. It's nothing. $300 million. We're way bigger than they are. We're organic, bringing in $45 million a year now. That was 5 years ago, 20-something million. We started bringing in $45 million. Now I've got $20 million to work with. After all the bandwidth, taxes, I mean, today it'll be hundreds of thousands of dollars in bandwidth. We're so gigantic right now. The average person doesn't buy anything. Fine. So then I end up with a few million, pay it to lawyers, have nothing. And I'm like, well, I could sell my house and fund the place another 3 months. You see where we're getting into here. I can't get in that position. I don't give a rat's ass. I mean, even about my own body when it comes to war. I just need the fuel. So we're down to this, folks. We're down to the wire. Bringing in $45 million this year. The way they've shut us down, we're lucky it was $30 million this year. And I'll have to lay people off and start shutting down. So, because again, $30 million gross, half of its product cost, so it's $15 million. I've got $10 million or whatever it is in bandwidth cost. You're like, oh, just do it yourself. I'm doing it myself. I'm fighting as hard as I can, but I need you to commit and go, damn it. I'm going to go to InfoWarsStore.com, and I'm going to buy the best the products, the best fish oil, the best brain boost, the best turbo force. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to do it. It's a war. Help us.
Most of you.
Imagine if InfoWars